Earlier today, I was out for a walk high in the northern Canadian Shield when I came across a beaver pond with some action going on. There appeared to be a couple of creatures out and about working hard on their habitat, their house. I rushed back to my cabin, grabbed my gear, and what you're watching was actually shot on the Canon EOS R5 with the RF 800mm 2x extender in cropped mode and uncropped mode. And once I got all that set up, I realized these aren't beavers at all, these are imposters. And they're actually known as muskrats. They look very similar to beavers. You'll notice they've got a slightly different nose, it's a little bit more pointed. And their feet, they're not webbed like beavers. And oh my God, look at that tail. It's far from flat. And these creatures share the same habitat. They build the same sort of structures. They live in the same sort of marshy, boggy areas. And this dwelling looks very similar to a beaver's dwelling. Now at first I thought, had these guys somehow done away with the pair of beavers that were living there before? No, these are definitely muskrats. Either way, I was a little bit let down. I was really hoping to see beavers. I don't know what it is. It's something about that flat tail, whereas this pointy tail kind of reminds me of, well, a rather large overgrown rat, hence the name muskrat. And they create this scent, which is considered a very musky scent, which they use to help identify or define their territory. And there were an awful lot of these habitats. There was about 15 to 20 that I could see in the immediate area. And when I say immediate area, I'm talking about 1 square kilometer or 1 square mile. But let's talk a little bit about the equipment I was using. So I was using the Canon R5, and once again, I was using the RF 800mm f11 lens that I'm always talking about. It had the RF 2x extender on it because I was trying to get some moon shots, and so I just took all my gear out, I set it up, and I started filming. And what you're going to notice in some of the images here is that it's not as sharp because I'm at f22. It's around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. In this part in northern Canada, you're not going to get a lot of really bright light, so that's working against me. I really should have taken the RF extender off, but as you can see, it started to snow shortly after I got there. And the last thing you want to do is change out any sort of camera gear from your body when it starts to precipitate. And the wind was blowing quite heavily. It doesn't look like it here, but the wind speeds picked up to about 25 to 30 miles an hour, which is about 40 to 50 kilometers an hour. So thankfully I had the Manfrotto 504X head with aluminum tripod, so it locked down pretty sturdy, but I also had to lock down the pan and tilt because that wind, even though I was in a sheltered area, was still buffeting the lens, and if I left it open a little bit, it would just push the lens all the way. So how am I getting such a steady image here? Well, the Canon has IBIS, so I've got that working for me. And I'm using Final Cut Pro, and I'm using the stabilization within the software. Now, unfortunately, at some points, it does create some warping artifacts. There's some minor ones there. In some clips, I just completely turned it off because it was very distracting. But I really do love this 800mm lens. I think it produces really, really great results here. When shooting wide, it's better. When cropped in this type of environment with this low light, it's not the greatest. In some scenes, you can see noise. You can see that everything isn't as sharp as it should be. Ideally, if it wasn't snowing right now, I would have that 2x extender off and I'd be shooting with the 800mm in cropped mode, and I'd be loving the shots I'm getting. But still, as an ordinary filmmaker, as a regular person, not a professional, that f11 is not really holding me back too much. The fact that I'm able to crop in, well, not crop in, the fact that I'm able to punch in on these guys, to be able to zoom in, see where they are without them having a clue of where I am. These guys are going about their lives as though I'm not there. And that's what's really special here. And why am I showing you this? You might be thinking, well, Simon, what's the point of this video? The point of this video to me is to show you life as it's going on outside, to see these creatures going about their lives. And when I'm doing this myself, the one thing I stopped doing is I stopped worrying about everything that's going on in my life. I stopped worrying about my issues, my concerns, the problems, things that are giving me stress. And just watching these guys, I'm filled with excitement. I really thought I was filming beavers, and yes, they're muskrats, and yes, they're lovely creatures too, but not the same as a beaver. But still, just very exciting, very much in awe of what I'm looking at. And that's part of what the 800mm is all about to me. It's an excuse to go outside, and it's an excuse to explore, to go on the trails, to bundle up really warm and sit in these shelters. They're more like hunting shelters than anything else, but they're not for hunting. But they're not completely sealed. You have wooden slats so the air can come through. But what it does is it protects the wildlife from seeing you, so that you can get candid shots like this, with this muskrat grooming itself, filming wildlife, especially animals that I had never seen before, animals that there's no way I could have gotten this close to without a camera, without a lens like this, is something pretty special. So that's why I'm doing this. I'm going to do this from time to time. I was planning on having a Lego video out to you by now, but instead this is kind of taking over. And in winter in northern Canada, to be able to capture wildlife, to be able to capture anything, it can be really tough at times. It's a very, very harsh environment. Quite often by this time of year, everything is frozen solid. There isn't a lot of access to food. We don't get to see a lot of creatures. And of course, sunlight, when we do get it, it's quite dim compared to summertime. So I hope you enjoyed this video. But that's it for now. Don't forget to subscribe for your chance to win the Cinco Lav S6E and M3 shotgun microphones. I'll be awarding these two prizes to one lucky viewer once the channel reaches 20,000 subscribers. And then I'll be offering up a different and more expensive prize every 10,000 until the channel reaches 100,000 subscribers. At which point, I'll be offering up a brand new Canon EOS R5 full-frame mirrorless camera to one lucky viewer. And on that bombshell, thanks for watching The Ordinary Filmmaker. We'll see you again soon.